Harry's wife. The ghost appears. Ooh. No, not that kind of ghost. I'm talking about the ghostwriter. Harry's wife, we know, is keeping a very low profile at the moment. This might be because she has drowned in the floods at Monty Shit Show. Apparently not. She was screaming for a helicopter, even though that makes no sense whatsoever. Naturally, Ginger Bollocks was too busy supping tequila with Stephen Colbert to bother trying to rescue his family. Or indeed, what are the two of them doing to help other people that might be in difficulties in and around these floods that have been experienced in Monty Shit Show? Nothing. Because, of course, as usual, it's all talk and no action. But Harry's wife has been keeping a low profile because, of course, she's allowing Harry to keep fucking up and for him to take all of the flack from the media and social media about his revelations. But also, J.R. Moehringer, the ghostwriter, had been awfully quiet. Until now. An article by India McTaggart in the Telegraph tells us Prince Harry's ghostwriter defends Spare over inaccuracy claims. Okay. The New York-born author was reportedly paid $1 million to write the memoir. The Duke of Sussex's ghostwriter has defended Spare from claims of inaccuracies and historical errors, insisting mistakes are common in memoirs where the line between memory and fact is blurry. That strikes me as something as a cop-out. It would seem to me that the appropriate thing to do is to ensure accuracy as much as possible. So, for instance, one minor error is the fact that Harry talks about the fact that his mother bought him an Xbox. Well, she couldn't have done because they didn't come out until 2001. And it's probably the case that he meant a PlayStation. And it's just an error of recall. But you'd have thought that somebody might have checked upon that fact, that given the amount of money that's been splurged on this, that a couple of fact checkers would have been deployed and that they would ensure that his memories are accurate. Because the problem is this. We know that he's told some porky pies, aided and abetted by the narcissist, that is his wife. Now, as I've explained before, memory is treacherous, and it may well be that there are some errors of recall that are in there which are just innocent errors, because he's having to remember events from many years ago when he was a lot younger, possibly through the fog of cannabis smoke. But moreover, as far as we're aware, he has not had any recourse to a written diary or journal, and therefore he's doing the best to dredge it out of his addled mind. And that means invariably he's going to be making some mistakes of recall. If I were to ask you, valuable viewers, to recall certain events, I should imagine that you would get certain things wrong. Now, of course, you're not putting this material in a memoir. Therein lies the difference. But with Harry, the problem he has is that because he and his wife regularly tell whoppers, it means that even where an honest error of recall occurs, people aren't going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Furthermore, that explanation by J.A. Moehringer, given the amount of money that he's been paid, you would think that's just not good enough. Coming out and going, oh, the line between memory and fact is blurry. Tough shit. Get it right. Or at least do your best to get it right. I mean, there's an instance, of course, about Harry claiming that he was around, I think, when he was told the Queen Mother was dead, but apparently he was off skiing when that took place. And it's these type of things that cause people to look at it and go, do you know what? I don't know what I believe in this book because it just contains so much inaccuracy. The article continues, award-winning journalist and author J.A. Moehringer came to the defence of Prince Harry amid the latest controversy surrounding his newly published memoir. Late last night, the writer shared a quote from Mary Carr, author of The Art of Memoir, which said, "The line between memory and fact is blurry, between interpretation and fact. There are inadvertent mistakes of those kinds out the wazoo," whatever that is. He also tweeted an excerpt from the book, which emphasises that the Duke admitted there may be inaccuracies in his memoir, blaming the trauma of his mother's death in childhood. Well, yeah, Okay, we know that it's had an effect, but his mother's death is an absolute, seemingly panacea for everything. Harry, why can you not remember things? It's my mother's death. Okay, fair enough. We understand that's had an impact on you. Harry, do you have any memories about your mother? Sometimes, and other times I don't. Depends if I'm rubbing cream into my dick and thinking about her. Oh, you awful boy. Don't bring things up like that. Harry, can you remember the PIN for your bank card? No, I can't. It's my mother's death. Harry, have you done the dishes? No, my mother's death prevented me from doing so. Harry, why have you been behaving like a complete bell end? Must be my mother and the trauma associated with it again, I would say. Yes. It starts to wear a bit thin, doesn't it, after a while, that he keeps referencing all of the problems being as a consequence of that. There is no doubt that this man has not dealt with the trauma of the death of his mother. It's clear. And this is a major part of what made him so susceptible to the narcissist ensnaring him. However, it becomes a tiresome excuse for everything that it's down to the fact of the trauma of his mother. Many people suffer loss, they get on with it, and they don't use it as an excuse. Other people, it does impact upon them. But it has to be said, and undoubtedly encouraged by his wife because it suits the narrative of victimhood that she wants to peddle, he's encouraged to trot it out again and again. I'm surprised he hasn't had a laminated card made so that when somebody goes, Harry, you fucked up, he just plays the Diana card. Blame shift, no culpability, no accountability. Caught by the cops with your pants down in a compromising position, just play the Diana card. Get out of jail free. Mr. Meringer tweeted the Duke's words, whatever the cause, my memory is my memory. It does what it does, and there's just as much truth in what I remember and how I remember it as there is in so-called objective facts. No. That is inaccurate. And just because you remember it a particular way and say those are the facts, you're parroting the type of nonsense that your wife would come out with. The narcissist sees the world through a different perspective, and as a consequence of doing so, the narcissist has their version of the truth. It is not invariably the shared reality of other people. And Meringer tweeting those words is giving credence to this nonsense that Harry is engaging in by parroting the narcissistic perspective that his wife puts forward. The article continues. The New York-born author, who was reportedly paid $1 million to write Spare, was coming to the defense of several highlighted accuracies, including that the Duke was given an Xbox, here we are, before they were manufactured, and that he was descended from King Henry VI. More errors have emerged since the highly anticipated release of the book earlier this week, such as the Duke's recollection of where he was when he was told that the Queen Mother, his great-grandmother, had died. That's been picked up on as well. He describes being at Eton when he heard the news on March 30th, 2002. However, reports at the time suggested the Duke was actually on a skiing holiday with his father and brother in Cloisters, Switzerland. Photographs from the time suggest that they had taken part in a media call at the Swiss resort on March 29th, as well as a statement from the King, who was then the Prince of Wales, outlining his wish to get home as soon as he can. As for the Xbox inaccuracy, the Duke admitted in Spare that he has no idea if his memory of receiving the gift from his aunt, Lady Sarah McCorkadale, for his 13th birthday in 1997 is true. Why include it then? While people have pointed out that the video game console was released 4 years later in 2001, others came to the Duke's defence as he wrote that his memory was no longer recording things quite as it once did, following his mother's death. That's the story anyway, he writes of his first birthday following Princess Diana's death the same year. It's appeared in many accounts of my life as gospel, and I have no idea if it's true. Pa said Mummy hurt her head, but perhaps I was the one with brain damage. Mr. Meringer tweeted another quote from Mary Carr, which said, Neurologist Jonathan Mink, MD, explained to me that with such intense memories as David's, we often record the emotion alone or detail blurred into unreadable smear. Thanks for that. The award-winning author also pointed out that the Duke himself admitted his recollections were at times hazy, writing, landscape, geography, architecture. That's how my memory rolls. Dates, sorry, I'll need to look them up. Dialogue, I'll try my best, but make no verbatim claims, especially when it comes to the 90s. Well, what's interesting there is that he recounts various conversations, and with that admission, do we basically reject what he has to say and think, well, given that his memory is so hazy with regard to dates and conversations, we cannot place any reliance whatsoever upon them? Among the historical matters called into question, the high street retailer TK Maxx also corrected the record over whether the Duke, who wrote that he shopped there, really did take advantage of sales at the store. He writes in spare, "I was particularly fond of their once-a-year sale, when they'd be flush with items from Gap or J. Crew." However, a spokesman for the retailer said, "Whilst we're delighted Prince Harry is a big fan, we thought we would actually explain we don't do sales. Instead, we offer great value, style and savings all year round." A royal biographer and historian has called the mistakes quite serious, adding that they discredit the Duke and his memoir. Hugo Vickers, who has written a biography of the Queen Mother, said, "If he can get those sorts of things wrong, what else can he get wrong?" You ask yourself. Well, the appearance of the ghost at long last doesn't really help Harry out much, does it? It doesn't really provide a particularly ringing endorsement. Let's have a quick look below the line to see if people defend Harry in relation to this poor memory. Another view writes, "Mr. Meringer tweeted the Duke's words, 'Whatever the cause, my memory is my memory. It does what it does. And there's just as much truth in what I remember and how I remember it as there is in so-called objective facts.' Absolutely agree with you there, Harry. I remember being King of England in the 1980s, and that's as true as any so-called objective facts. I want my title, my lands and my income back." Laura Rogers, "Recollections may vary indeed. It could be suggested that someone who understands that they don't recall things well should be extremely wary of publishing very sensitive details which they have no way of being sure are even true. Facts are facts, mistakes are mistakes, and lies are lies, no matter how much therapy you've had." Bob Cochrane adds, "or drugs you've taken." Wendy Berwick, "There are inadvertent mistakes of those kinds out the wazoo, quite. Just one teensy point. When Harry was chattering away on late-night television in the States, recounting how he fact-checks the Crown, he very importantly pointed out how, with history, it's vital to get those facts right. Then he patted the volume of History with his mugshot on it to make the point. So Harry was telling the world that what is written in Spare is factual history. Of course, any halfway intelligent person understands that a memoir written from a personal point of view is not history at all. It is a memoir written, in this case by someone else, from a personal point of view. It's widely understood that if you speak to a group of people present at any event, you will hear different perspectives of that event. So Harry, there is your truth, there is my truth, there is everyone else's truth. Then there is fact. Your book is not factual in the main, or history, it is your perspective." Eli May, "So there's actually no way of the reader knowing which parts of the book are true, or indeed if any of it is." Carl Franklin, "So now we know the author couldn't be bothered to fact check. Then we have to assume everything written is inaccurate or just not true." I think that's the position that many people will get to. That if you've got a ghostwriter saying, "Look, this is the way that it was recalled," and not really bothered about whether it's true or not, people are going to say, "Well, I choose not to believe anything that's written in it." Oh dear, that didn't go down very well, did it? I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.